Now that we have our line drawing, our next step is to get into shading it. This is where we describe how light is affecting the way we perceive the cube using value. But before we start developing values on our main drawing, we need to do a value study. So when we do the value study, we have to draw the cube again. Here we do not care about the proportions or perspective. Let's just draw the cube. Now you will ask, why spend time on a value study when we can spend the same time on our main drawing? The answer is simple. It is a place to work out all the problems you would face as the value study is not valuable. If it does not work out right, you can do another one and discard this one. It's smaller and you have not spent a lot of time and money on it. Art materials can be expensive, so you do not want to experiment on your main drawing. It's like rehearsal of a play or dance before the main event. It is a place to work out problems. We will make fewer mistakes on our main drawing as we would have answered a lot of questions during the process of doing the value study. The value study needs to be small and simplified or posterized. A posterized image is an image that is simplified into few notes of value. For our cube, we can distill it down to 6 values. The 3 visible faces or planes of the cube, the light on the ground plane, the cast shadow, and the background. Now once we have the line drawing of our value study, where do we start? How do we make a decision on what to put down first? It can be very difficult to judge what the value differences are if we start somewhere in the middle of the range. It is a good idea to start at the extremes of the range of values achievable by our drawing materials. In our case, graphite. Now if we look at the image of the cube, the cast shadow of the cube is very close to black, but we can't achieve black with the range of pencils that we have. So we will start with the darkest pencil available to us. Now let's put down the value of the cast shadow. Now we can make a decision on the other end of the range, that is of how light we are going to get. The lightest is the color of the paper, or using a white chalk or pastel pencil. As we are not using pastel pencils or chalks, we will take the white of the paper as the other end of the range. Now there is one thing that we need to take into consideration. The fact that the cube is not white, it's grey, somewhere around 7 on the Munsell value scale. So it's always a good idea to take into consideration the local value of the subject you are drawing and shading and making decisions of the value you are going to use. We want to preserve the impression that the cube is grey and not give the impression that the cube is white. This is called holding the local. We will get to this a little bit later. For now, let's leave the lightest plane as the paper color. Remember, put layers of graphite and do not achieve the darks by putting pressure on the pencil. Remember, we want an even tone throughout the cast shadow because here we are trying to get a simplified version of the values present. Now let us put down a value for the surface adjacent to the car shadow. Why, you might think that we are not shading in any other plane or surface. This is because we want to shade a plane or surface adjacent to the surface we have just shaded, so it's easier to judge the value we need to use. Now when we have to do this, we judge the contrast or the difference in between the two values and we check it by squinting, that is, looking through your eyelashes. If you have got any value from this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more.